Hello, George. How you doing?
How's it going, Leroy?
It's going all right. We're about to do our first book review. How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I wish it was something that was more polarizing, like something we disagreed on a little bit more, but I'm still psyched to do it.
Well, I mean, to be fair to the viewers, like we did discuss this. I only gave you the grades. I didn't tell you why. So
Exactly.
we're this discussion is going to be like a natural discussion. We are going to review the Chenoo today. And we have a few things we're going to cover. George is going to do a more in-depth review for the splintering, so he's going to cover a lot more than we cover here. We're basically trying to cover the book. George will cover like shipping, perks, tiers, all the rest of it at thesplintering.com, and that description will be in below. If you guys are more interested in comic book reviews, especially from Comicsgate, go over there to the splintering.com, and they do reviews from time to time. George is a writer over there. So what do you
Like
got for us, George?
absolutely free. There's no paid advertisements, there's no paid endorsements. So yeah, it's a great site. I recommend everyone check it out.
Mm. So what do you want to look at first, George?
Well, we said there's gonna be three basic things that we review, which are the story, the art, and the physical quality of the content. But before we even do that, why don't we go over the campaign, talk about what we backed, just like really basically for the viewers.
Sure. So here's the campaign. We could see that it launched. Wow, you
May
looked up.
May 19th, 2020.
Right. So it made $88,425, backed by 1,500 plus people. He's got few different perks here. He has a level 3, and that comes with a sticker, a signed book, a poster, and a head sketch. You can just buy a 5 pack of stickers. You can buy Graham a beer, which I thought was pretty clever, by the way. Um, you can buy just a regular book.
And that was the tier that I backed, the basic A cover.
Okay, and you can get the variant, which is what I got. This tier right here, and it just comes with a sticker in the book. You can get the book level 2, and that comes with a poster, retail pack, retail level 2 pack, a sketch level, and you can get all of his Monster Island books, and then you can get original art. So that's the gist of the perks. You'll go into more into that on the splintering. We don't need to cover that in depth. Um, did we want to touch on how the campaign was run, George?
Absolutely. So this was a unique 45-day campaign. So we ran it for 30 and then extended it for an additional 15 prior to going in demand, which is why it's the strange end date of July 4th, from starting on May 19th.
Mm,
But that was the length of the campaign. He advertised it, I would say, pretty well. You saw him on streams, and then he actually started his own channel that he was pretty active on. But what impressed me were the updates.
yes, I think we were both impressed with his updates. I think this is a model for other creators to follow. His model, and there's another creator that I like, and I don't want to talk about another creator during this review, but there's a couple out here. He's very good. Graham is awesome, keeping you up to date. I thought there was like no fluff in here as far as hey, back this next book or whatever. It was all about the Chenoo.
Yeah, his plan was basically, I'm going to tell my backers what's going on every Monday once I start working on this project. So you can see the weekly updates ended around, I think, week 25. And he was telling us each week, hey, I finished this many pages, or I started scripting this much, or I started doing whatever, or the book was off to print, or whatever have you. And he was telling us each week whatever he had accomplished. And that was really appreciated.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like the professionalism of Graham Nolan is a model for, I would think, for creators, these new creators to look at and say, this guy's a pro. Like this is how I should run something.
I absolutely agree. Like I said, one thing that creators do is they'll use Twitter or they'll use YouTube to give updates. And I can't stress this enough. I back this book on Indiegogo, so I want to see my updates on Indiegogo.
Hmm. It's a good point. I know, and you know what? I mean, Graham. I'm on Twitter, and Graham's been active on Twitter as well. So he's got both bases. He's got you covered on Indiegogo and Twitter. So, and then on his YouTube channel as well. Let's not forget that. It's just all around. He ran this campaign very well, very well.
Agreed.
Okay, let's get to the book, shall we?
Yep. So we said there's going to be 3 categories we're going to discuss: the
Mm-hmm.
story, the art, and then the physical quality of the book itself. And we both read the digital edition, and neither one of us has received the book in the mail yet, so we can't really do that. So for today, that'll just be not applicable. So we're just talking about the story and the art and nothing else.
Right, and let's go over why we did that. There's a bit of a scheduling issue where you're not available for the rest of the week, so now's just a good time. We both know Graham Nolan. You know, there's no reason for us to doubt that the physical quality is not going to be up to par. If it's not, you are going to cover it on the splintering, I would assume.
Absolutely. So on the Splinter, I do 4 categories. It's book quality and content, shipping, communication, and stretch goals and bonuses.
Okay.
So that will absolutely be part of that when it does get published on the Splintering.
What do we want to cover first?
Let's go with the story.
Okay, you start. I'll come in after.
Okay, very basically, the story is a 48-page, um, gray toned, with a red blood splatter, enhanced story of a creature called the Chenoo, who is trying to eat the hearts of men to replenish the warmth he can't have. The story takes place in modern times in Buffalo, New York, in the midst of a very major snowstorm. Um, I enjoyed the story. Uh,
Okay.
from start to finish, it's tough to find a book that you can pick up, a comic book that you can pick up that is completed in one graphic novel. So in a 48-page story, we got the start, we got the finish, we got the payoff. We know exactly what happened. We learn about the characters. Um, I thought the story was entertaining. There was definitely horror elements to it. Um, Overall, I think it achieved what it said it would. And I actually personally gave the grade. And by the way, our grades are going to be basically A, B, C. I gave the grade of the story a B plus.
Mm. And D and F, by the way. A, B, C, D, F.
Good point.
What were some of the high points of the story for you?
The recounting of the lore of the Chenoo. There was one particular panel that really took me back. The danger that I felt. You meet a couple of characters in the beginning before you meet our main protagonist, and you see what happens to them. So you feel the danger. So when this character is lurking, you
Mm.
you sense the genuine danger around.
Right. This would be an example of that where the guys were out ice fishing and he got his head knocked off.
And that's been out there for a while. I don't think we're spoiling anything by showing it.
No, this is we're going to spoil I'm going to put it in the title. We're going to spoil this book.
Fair enough.
So, uh, but yeah, like, so there's that. And you were talking about the lore. Is that when they're sitting on the couch talking about 77, I assume?
No, prior to that, there's a couple of pages where one character is kind of rekindling to the other characters, really speaking to the reader about the history of the Chenoo.
I see.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember that.
we appreciated that.
Okay.
But what about you? What did you think of the story?
Let me preface this and say I'm a Batman fan, and not only am I a Batman fan, but I'm a Batman fan of the '90s. So Graham Nolan is a huge influence on my comic book fandom.
Mhm.
You would understand that, I would assume. Um, so it's hard for me to be tough on somebody I absolutely like. You know, am a big fan of like Graham, but I give this a C, and I give it a C because to me it's just a horror story, you know, like it's a horror movie. It's just a cliche horror movie. Like you get this scene here where um she's talking with this guy at the diner. The guy in the diner steps outside. He just gets mauled by the Chenoo, and then she's in the car petting a dog like nothing happened. And I'm just like, that's like a just a cheesy horror movie. And it happens again. Another example is when the guy steps outside for the first time, like trying to, you know, be a braggart, like, hey, there's nothing going on, get stomped, you know, or whatever. And then the wife's in there drinking coffee like nothing happened. A few panels later, just like, are you kidding me? And and I don't want to spoil too much. I know we're going to spoil, but there's more that happens repeatedly, and to me, that's just like teenagers camping in the woods, and you know, not you know, there's a monster out there. Just one of those movies. Does that make sense, George?
It absolutely makes sense. Now, let's just say that he packed a lot of information in a 48-page book. So, did it move fast? Yes, but did it move so fast that you couldn't follow the story?
No, 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 absolutely not. And I give it a real C. I don't give it if I thought it was a D or an F, I wouldn't give it a D or an F. It's a real C. It's not like to me it's not horrible, but it's not great. It's just, it's just what it is. Another issue I had, George, was the ending, like out of nowhere. Like it happens. Like there's
Mhm.
no and I'm just like, what? Like and, like I feel like it should have been hinted at or something. There should have been hints like this was out there and it wasn't.
I'm wondering if what you're referring to, and I know what you're referring to, is something that we're going to see in a recurring theme in his books, because he said these books will be interconnected some way, and I
Mm.
can't imagine we're going to see the Chenoo in the next book he has planned, Alien Alamo, but will that you're referring to be somehow referenced or shown?
It could be, and then it would make more sense, but just in a
Bingo.
standalone story, it does not to
Did,
me.
did you feel as though this story stood alone and you could read this and nothing else and get enjoyment from it?
Yeah, absolutely. If
Okay,
I didn't think that, I would have given it a D or an F. Like a
gotcha.
C to me is like it's good. Like it's not bad. It's good. It's just not it's not great or it's not excellent.
Okay,
You
fair
know.
enough. No, fair enough. Okay, that was for the story.
hmm
So we already said we can't do anything about the book quality, but what about the art, which you always harp about is your most important part of any book?
No, well, it's important. When for Comicsgate, when I back a creator for the first time, and like I said, I know of Graham Nolan, obviously, so it's not like I'm backing, but it's the first time I backed him through Indiegogo. So the art is a huge draw as far as am I going to back. No, I don't generally like grayscale, but our Graham did it really well here, really well. The sequentials are great. I mean, to be honest, I think the covers, both of them, left something to be desired. I got the variant because I grew up in upstate New York, so I know about I know about like the '77 blizzard. I know about all this, but like the house on the cover reminded me of my childhood home so much that I showed my dad a picture of it. Like, look, there's a comic book with our house on it.
That's pretty cool. I actually
But
got the main cover. I like this main cover a lot. But go ahead.
okay, but like the art I give an A. Even though I say the covers leave something to be desired, the sequentials are outstanding. And I wanted to show that example that we both like, George. If you don't mind.
No, absolutely. What did you think of the use of red throughout the book?
Absolutely great. I
hmm
mean, I always think of Schindler's List when I think of that with the girl in the pink coat.
hmm
Like the red's kind of that. It's kind of used similar in a similar manner there.
hmm
But this page right here, I just love this page.
Yep. Now this stood out to me as well when he's looking back and talking about the history of the Chenoo. I love not just the page, but the background on it. I did notice throughout the book he alternated between black and white panel breaks. I was wondering if there was a theme behind that, or it was just for aesthetic purposes. Like, see here, it's black, but on
Isn't
the
that when well, yeah, because I noticed he did it once when the lights went out. You
right,
know.
but he's done it before. I was wondering if it was when the Shnu was president, but I couldn't put together why it was being done. But it's sharp the way it looks.
Yeah, I agree. I
Um,
agree.
I enjoyed the art as well. I really want to nitpick on it if I can, but I really cannot. It might look different to me when I have it in hand, but just digitally, because you do know it looks different digitally than it does in hand. But from what I've seen and the way the page is laid out and the art itself, I agree with you 100% on the grade. I gave it an A as well.
Right. I would say this. I went ahead and said we can do a digital. If this was color, there's no way I would have done it. I would have waited for the physical copy to do a review. but it's grayscale, so I felt safer saying, okay, let's go ahead and do the
Right,
review.
right there on page, right before the first page. If you scroll up one, that's where he puts the character sketch. So if you were to back a sketch, it's actually cool. It's actually going to be in the book, and
Mm,
it's not going to be like an extra 5x7 or something like that. That comes separate. So I think
mm.
that's a clever little idea he did.
So what would you give it overall?
Overall, B plus and an A for the story and art. I'm giving it an A minus. But I need to once again see the physical book in hand. I need to see how it feels. He talked about the cover enhancements. He advertised it originally as foil, I think, but then he told us on stream that he changed it from foil to something he referred to as spot varnish. So like the red on it's going to really pop off
Yeah,
when you see the cover.
I saw pictures of it, and like I said, there is no reason for me to doubt that he's going to deliver on the physical. I give it a B, just a solid B,
Okay.
just a solid B. And I do want to also say that I'm not a horror fan and I'm not a monster fan. Because I know Graham's been doing these.
31
Um,
Days of Monsters, and I watched
right,
every single one of them.
right. So like, I backed this solely because of Graham. His next book I'm more interested in than this book, but because it's Graham, I backed it, and for something that I don't generally like, monsters and horror, I give it a B. That's pretty damn good.
Final thing I want to ask, and I think this should be more of a generic question. Are you glad you backed it?
Absolutely, I'd back Nolan again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I am very glad I backed this book. I will absolutely back Alien Alamo. Now that I know how he runs his campaign, I'll probably even look at a higher tier. Knowing how he does the character sketches and all that kind of stuff, I'll definitely be peeking at that. So, and I'm curious to see what he's going to include because he had some unique items in this campaign that were specific to the campaign, like snow globes.
Mm. Yeah.
So what's he going to have for Alien Alamo? I really don't know, but I'm eager to find out.
Just as now that we're talking about that, I'd like to bring up that he had that perk, and I know you're going to cover it in the splintering, but he had that perk for the beer, the
Hmm.
beer cans, and that beer was name dropped in the book, so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, overall, this is definitely a great book. I really liked it. Like I said, I give it an A minus. And we didn't even talk about the little 8-page backup story.
No, we didn't. We didn't. Like that, it was cool. I
Yep.
liked it. Uh, but yeah, guys, like I would recommend this book to like, especially if you're a horror fan or if you like monsters. I definitely recommend this to you.
Absolutely. It's still in demand. I don't know how much longer he's going to keep it up for, but it's actively being shipped right now. So check it out when you get a chance.
All right, I think that wraps it up. We're going what so the viewers know what we plan on doing is anytime George and I back a book, the same book, we're going to do this kind of review. So I know on deck we have the Lucent, warts and all, like stuff that we both back. We'll be doing a review and posting a video on it.
That's right. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Take it easy, and we will talk to you guys later.
Later.